Okay, so we should be good to go. Welcome back, everybody. Now, I will say right off the crack, I'm noticing a huge lag from. Oh, one sec. I have a headset. I got this whole weird setup going on. I haven't done something like this in a very long time. We're recording right off of a webcam, so the lighting's going to be a little weird. And like I said, there's going to be a lag, and at least a noticeable lag from what I saw. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the lag in actually drawing, but what you guys see from my voice as opposed to what you see happening on the webcam, there's definitely a lag. So, in saying that, if this gets brutal or out of hand, just let me know, you guys, and we'll jump right back. Turn on Manga Studio, Photoshop, something like that, and we'll get back to that stuff. But until then, what I'm going to be working on, and I wish I could zoom out a little bit more to show you guys. I don't want to screw up with the camera here a little bit, but if you guys remember me talking about the Thanos drawing I did, this is kind of the workflow that I've been doing my pages and really like all my work at lately. Or I'll just print it out and then just kind of get the pencils going and stuff like that. Tight pencils, and you'll see as we go along. And then I can just bring this sucker into Manga Studio, ink the hell out of it. And for those of you that haven't seen that video, I'll just quickly go over what we'll be using today. Good old-fashioned. Well, it's a little chunky piece of kneadable eraser, broke off. This is usually what I'll use just to tighten up some of the pencils that were printed out in Photoshop. It's a 2H lead and a lead holder. A lot of people know all about that one. This one here is just a Pentel 0.5 basic clicky pencil thing. I think it's 2B lead, something like that. It's really soft and all that good stuff. And then this is the part that usually a lot of people kind of go like, oh wow, what's going on? It's just 3 different colors. You can pick any color you like, and I just use that for anatomy if something's really complicated, or costume pieces and stuff like that. And we'll kind of get into actually the panel that I'm working on right now. But again, this show's for you guys. So for the next hour, we're all together here. If you have any comments or questions or anything you guys need help with talking about comics, maybe I can help you out. And like I said, if you guys have a little bit of a problem with the new, I don't want to say the new, but just the way we're working tonight, just let me know. We can always go back to Manga Studio, okay? So I'm just going to move it down here. I got to look at 2 cameras here while I'm doing this. So this shot here, again, this is for the book called The Standard. And in this panel, this is how, kind of like that. We've got this giant monolith huge guy named TV Man, and he's holding up a kid or a young man or whatever, and the Standard comes up behind him and to confront him. So this is actually what I like to call the money shot of the page. It's the biggest page out of all of them. Well, not the biggest, but it's the one it's showing the most character. Okay, so like I said, we've already got the rough lines already put in there from Photoshop. So all I'm doing is I'm just grabbing like the 2H lead here and kind of going in and just tightening up that anatomy, giving it a reason to be the way it is. Some of the questions you're asking there, what is that for line art though? 2H is really hard as well. It's very difficult to break it. I mean, you got to put a lot of pressure on there to break it. I'm just using it to lightly go over the work I've kind of already did with the gesture. I'm just kind of roughing in where some of this anatomy would go like that. And then with this guy here, the 2B, you'll see we're just going to darken up the actual line so I can, with the light pencil, what you're looking to do is just make a bunch of lines that kind of make sense. Like right here in the shoulder, I'm doing a lot of like this kind of shape. And I'm just going to go in there and pick what lines I like. And what's really cool is when you use a 2H, it can slowly build up form, so you don't always have to worry about erasing unless things start to get a little crazy. I'm just trying to figure out his neck here. Zoom it down a little bit here. I wanted to address as well that when I'm doing this kind of work process here, I'm not looking to make everything perfect. Like somebody said already in the chat talking about tight line work. I'm not doing tight line work at all. I'm just trying to get more refined information so that once I scan this into Manga Studio, all the guesswork's taken out and I can just, put on the music and get in there and just kind of like turn your brain off for a little bit and just ink over top of it. So I get his head in there. I'm not going to. I'll just show you guys roughly. I have done this. If you guys have seen the other videos that I've done as well, where TV Man, he's got a literal TV over his head, and instead of worrying about that perspective all the time, I have a TV loaded in Google SketchUp. So all I do is just load the file into there, and just kind of redraw it. But I'll just sort of put it in, just for the perspective that I'm thinking of. And here, okay, so he's got his shoulder up, so the pec wouldn't be straight across like this. If his shoulder's coming up, his pec's actually going to start to fold up. And I'm drawing outside of the panel here too. More information helps. Actually, it's been so long since I've drawn this character, I forget what his costume looks like. Remember, he's got giant shoulder pads. And I believe he's just got TV Man written on his chest, and he's got like all this chainmail too, I think. Actually, let me just pull up a little something here on the side, and I'll post in the link or in the chat room as well if you guys wanted to see what he looks like. TV Man. Okay, so where are we going here? Clicky on that, and we're going to go to browse the gallery. Where are you at? The standard. There you go. TV Man. There you go. Okay. So let me just change that up there. Okay, so I'm just going to post this in the chat for those of you that wanted to, like I said, check out TV Man. Paste. There you go. I think he's a full-time bodybuilder, trying to prove that you don't need cosmic meteorite mixed with scientific experiments to be a superhero. Through hard work and steroids, you too can become a superhero. But unfortunately, this guy, you know, he does what most villains tend to do, gives into that whole, you know, if I want something, I'm going to take it. And usually that mindset, in certain respects, is signs of a villain there. Okay, so we're just going to tighten him up here again. You'll see here, his ear might not even be in this. He's got a really cool, a funny mustache and a really big butt chin, but I'm not going to get into all that work here. I don't need that. I can worry about all that stuff when I'm inking. Again, all I'm trying to do the best with here is just the form. Like right here, like his head. I don't have to get in there getting messy with all the muscles that are going into his neck. That's not a big deal. Again, just digital. We'll get there. And actually, let me just check the script here, what he's saying in that panel. What do we got here? Page, last panel. At last, our battle now. Okay. TV Man is young man, his standards, directions, and switch cleanse the crowd is onlooker center of the background, center walks towards. Okay. So, he's pretty excited. Alright. Let's just go in there again. Just trying to, you know, some details you can put in there. Like, I always like, you know, I have this going right here where I can understand where the face is going, but sometimes I'll just, you know, go in there and add some of that detail. Just so, once you do go into inking and all that stuff, there's little notes you're kind of giving yourself as you draw, I find. So like that little information right here, that will probably look totally different once I get to inking this guy. But I might not have remembered that. So just kind of giving yourself a little, like, I guess a little sticky note right on your art. And here's the fun stuff all in here. Oops, sorry. All in here, all the meat and potatoes down here. So I'm really going to play this stuff up here. Let's get it real textured. Round out the rib cage and just kind of bring out the muscles a little bit over there. And we got his abs. We're going to stagger them a little bit, just so they look a little bit more interesting. And I'm just going to really bring out the side of his his muscles there, kind of make it look, I don't want to say fat because it doesn't look fat, but it just gives a little bit more volume, a little bit more extra shape when everything else around there's sharp edges and stuff. It's always cool to have something like that going on. So I am going to have a shoulder pad here if you guys had seen that link. The other thing that he has too is he's got that scale mail stuff. So once we're done the anatomy here, I'm just going to quickly kind of put in the framework for him for his like little Aquaman type stuff. Oh, that's gonna be in shadow. And you know, these huge lat muscles, I think they're called. No, what are those? Traps. That's what those are called. The T muscles. Okay, so, oh, John, you're in the room. Thanks for stopping by again, John. Inkbot is asking, John, how much have you dealt with publishers? I haven't really dealt with the big two or the big three or four, however there are. Dealt with, I'd say 4 or 5 independent publishers, including the one that I'm currently working on right now at the Standard. Was there something specific or are you just asking kind of like just out of curiosity? So I'm just trying to put some contour lines of his chest in here, so once we put the scale mail on there, they can fall on there correctly. Just putting them in there is like some foundational stuff. All of this will most likely change, but it's good to have that. It's good to have too much information, especially in a stage like this, than to start inking when something's so final. Unless you're again working digital, that you can't really backstep. That's a horrible feeling. It's going over to rework something. Ugh. Inkbot saying I'm looking at 2 or 3 to send submissions to. Okay, yeah, that stuff's a little bit different. Sending submissions and all that's a little bit different than just working for a publisher for sure. If you're looking to get work, I personally have some thoughts of the old school way of kind of getting work done. Nowadays, it seems like the best way to get work, from what I'm hearing anyway, is having published work, not necessarily submitting art. Not that people don't get work by submitting art. It's just that it seems like more people are getting work by being known for publishing something. So what does that mean to you and to me and all that stuff? Definitely do like the old school submission stuff, you know, where you send, what would it be, 3 to 6 pages or 4 to 8 pages around there. Telling maybe 2 different stories or one little bit longer story, just kind of showcasing what it is that you like to do, what you're good at. If you're submitting to Marvel and DC, I would do a story based with their characters. Every time I've gone to a convention and I've pitched to them, I've never had a portfolio with their characters in it, which is probably a big no-no. Probably explain why, you know, maybe my art style or my art's not where it should be, or they just don't know how I draw their characters, which are all very valid. But other than that, I would probably worry about working on your own comic or doing kind of like what I'm doing and a lot of people are doing, where you tag team up with like a writer, whether they're paying you or not, and try to get it published and see the other side of it, where it's you try to do the groundwork yourself, trying to get it into people's hands. Okay, yeah, so Inkbot saying I'm looking to try for both, just getting work and for a publisher to pick up his work as well. So yeah, I would just worry about making a comic. I wouldn't really pitch anything to anybody until your comic maybe it's about 75% done, somewhere around there. But some companies as well, you can give them just like a pitch with like maybe 3 pages of finished art, just so they can kind of see where you're going with it, and that's good enough. All these companies are different. And another route you could do too is it's a little bit of an older school method, but it does work. Is making a webcomic. And a lot of people share webcomics, especially if it's free content. So you never know who gets a chance to see that. You know, and then once it comes time to sell it at whenever you want to sell it, it's always good to have. I don't know. It just shows numbers, I guess. You know, if you know what I'm trying to say there. But I wish there was like some magical formula. Everybody's kind of got their own little interesting take on how they break in, I guess. Just making his logo here. And I got those giant shoulder pads here. Doesn't he got gloves or something too, John? I forget. Anyway. Well, if I understood that correctly, solicited well, in that case, what they're basically talking about is unless they've talked to you or if they've seen your work and they're interested in seeing it, they just don't want blind things. So, like, if you talk to an editor, essentially you have to go to a comic book convention. That's chances are the only way that you're going to, unless you know a friend that knows somebody that works there. But even then, your best bet's probably just going to a convention, making a little portfolio, submitting it, and hoping that they want to see your stuff, and then go from there. That's the big trick, is trying to figure out how you can get people to read your stuff. You could spend years making your book. Like the standard here has taken us a very long time. And now it just feels like people are starting to pick it up, which is great. At the same time, since it's taken so long, it's like I'll look at like a lot of the earlier stuff too, and it's just like, oh god, can I go back? Or even things like each issue takes me such a long time, and I'll look back at like the start of like this issue, and I'm like, ugh, I just want to redo it. So we got the standard here walking up front here. There's a cool cape behind him. Yeah, IDW is really awesome. Really dig what they're doing. And John Lee's just said too, again, for other people that are just listening there, if you contact a publisher and ask if they'd be interested in seeing a submission and they reply saying yes, then it's solicited. So again, just trying to find editors to shoot the breeze with. Let them know that you have something that they might be interested in. And that's about the best work you can do. Other than that, is just finding ways to get people to look at it. I find are the hardest things to do. It's always so funny when I draw the standard here. Like right now, it's kind of like back in time when the standard was in his prime. And he's got a much different body and even posture than when he's, you know, an older man, obviously. But there's something cool about drawing him like the old school, kind of like a Superman, but not as Superman-y. He's more cartoony. But then you get little like shots like this that are pretty fun to do, where he's looking, you know, pretty intimidating. Or at least I'm trying to make him look pretty intimidating. glue's breaking on me there. So we're gonna get big S on his chest here. And I'll finish up his mask. There you go. Yeah, John, I remember that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you get like shots like that, it's so different from like how we normally try to show the standard. It's like when you'd see Superman for the first time, you know, just kind of saving people and all that cool stuff. And then those times where all of a sudden, I mean, it's more prevalent now, but probably the first time you saw Superman snap and become, I don't say evil, but like show a different kind of emotion other than like, you know, the good guy. It's good stuff. Okay, so in this panel here, we've got the standard landing. So it's got his boot here, and then you've got TV Man in the background holding up that little guy, and looking like he's about to punch him. So let's get to it. So again, for the newcomers that are in the room, kind of like how this is working. This is, I believe, only 15% opacity in Photoshop printed out. Trying to keep it pretty easy. Then I'll grab a 2H lead here, and we're just going to tighten up the very quick thumbnail that I initially did to get sent for approval. And this method works really well. The only problem, I don't say problem, but something to be leery of is if you're going to try to work like this, your initial thumbnails, like as you can see, there's a lot of information here, but your initial thumbnails need to be, I don't want to say tight, but like they got to be a little bit more, I guess, tight than loose. And my thumbnails tend to be pretty loose. So the next time I do another batch of thumbnails, I'm going to go a little tighter, just to feel this stuff out here. So a real quick perspective trick as well. When you got something like this, we've got somebody's foot in the extreme foreground. Right there, this foot that's on the ground, anybody else that's in this scene, if you put their foot on the ground here, they'll always feel like they're in perspective. So as long as I have TV Man's feet planted, he'll feel like he belongs here. So we're going to start from the bottom up, block in that butt here, and I'm just going to go straight up here. Or wait, here we go. We're going to go straight this way. And I just want to really shoot his back, just to give him some volume. You know, like this guy's huge. Push this leg into perspective there. And this leg we're going to really shoot back just to give a little bit, you know, dynamic look to it. I really want to have him holding that guy up in the air. Actually, you know what? Let me just erase this. I don't like the way that's looking. I'm going to see, we got so much room in this panel. What if we could just hold the guy up like that? Just put a fist over here. This might look a little better. Gigantic tricep here. Put a bicep bulge over top of that and get his whatever muscle back there. And I like giving this guy, you know, even though right here I gave him like ripped muscles, you know, I kind of like that. I don't know what's it called, like that is it Randy Coleman? No, Randy Coleman. Yeah, geez, the big bodybuilder. You've seen these guys. It's like they've got like 8 packs, 12 packs, but they got it like over a gut. Something cool about that. It looks ridiculous, but at the same time, it's like, you know, this guy's still solid muscle. All right, so we got to make sure we definitely have the fist there. Don't want to lose that. And I'm gonna give him little chicken legs too, because it makes him look a little bit funnier. I was going to say as well, because there's other people here and we're getting almost about the halfway point. If you guys got any questions or comments or anything you guys need help with, by all means, feel free to toss in the chat. See what we can do for you. So I'm going to make this guy block in his face so he doesn't want to get hit. Bring those shoulders up. Figure out where we're going there. Okay. All right, let's get try to tighten up this anatomy a little bit more here. Grab a darker pencil. We're not going for perfection here. We're just going for enough information for when we go to inks. One thing I'm definitely starting to look at and think about over the last couple of years anyway is at no point in my process do I ever want to feel like I'm locked in and I can't change something. If I feel like all I can do is move shit around, that's not a good way to work. So if at any moment I can just erase something or change the shadows or something, especially going digital, again with the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics, there, the way Freddie Williams was talking about even having your shadows on a separate layer and your inks on a separate layer, just in case you had to go back and change something, it's really not that much work. You'll never have to totally erase anything. My camera right now is on a GorillaPod, a small one, and I just put the webcam on there and it's basically holding on for dear life right now. I was trying to set it up before the stream was going. It's a TV man. It's gonna be kind of weird because he's gotta have that TV on his face. And we're gonna have this guy here. Maybe he's like kicking him in the face. That'd be kind of cool. Trying to fight back a little bit anyway. Let's draw the side of the foot here. This thing here's got to be pretty beefy line weights. It's so close to the foreground. And let's get the boot in there. Okay, so his head's here. We don't want to lose all that information, so let's make sure we draw above it. And I guess his cape. So again, trying to still think of composition. We want the top left to get to the right here, so maybe we can get like an S pattern kind of happening with the cape. Sorry. Just blocking some. Kind of want to see how this is going here. Where his shadow and stuff will be. Actually, something I forgot about in this panel here is we got to have still that audience that's back there. So I'm gonna put some heads here. It's enough information for like the colors to get in there, you know. Maybe we'll do speed lines. I don't know. Cool. Okay, so the next stuff here. Do you guys want to see this? If you will, like I'll go in there and I'll do this. If not, I've got another action shot that I can do on the next page that I can work on as well. Just let me guys know. Just a couple of you guys if you want me to work on this crowd scene, I can do the crowd scene because I know a lot of people are interested in that. Or this shot here I can work on. It's the standard, just basically one shot KOs the guy. So that one will be more fun to draw, that's for sure. This stuff is probably what people want to see, but nobody wants to do, kind of thing. Okay. Bring the pain? Okay, if we're bringing the pain, then we're definitely going to do the crowd scene. So let me get the camera going here. Apologize for the motion sickness. Let me just make sure it's nice and sharp. If we can get it going sharper. I guess so. Yeah, the TV's flying off his head as it gets punched. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the script here just to see. We'll bring it into shot. No, you guys can't really see. Okay, so panel 2, which is what we're doing here. Long shot of TV man pointing at a scrawny young man in a standard t-shirt. So that's why he picks him out. And the crowd's laughing probably because he says something. Sure, okay. Let's do it. Oops. Okay, so as you can see, we've already got our thumbnail doing all the work for us. So we're pointing somebody out here, and whoever's pointing out, obviously, we'll put them here. That's the perspective point, just so everything focuses on that. So I'm just going to put a little circle there. Just real quickly, just kind of put a real dirty perspective grid over top here. Just so, because what we're going to need, and I'll tell you right now, guys, I apologize for the stuttering and slurred speech. I have been totally burnt out the last couple of days, and just so much work, so much drawing. Just trying to think here. Okay, so we're going to use that little perspective trick I kind of showed you guys, and then I'll show you how we can play around with it. So this guy is the focus of the panel, and a finger being pointed at him. Now, initially, right here, I have TV man pointing at him. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this panel up. I want it to be a little bit more dynamic. All the other shots on this page, let me just zoom out to show you guys the whole page here a little bit. Like even this shot here, we've got all these people looking at him. So we've got the establishing shot. You're going to see TV man. Here, you're seeing TV man again pointing at somebody, and then he grabs that guy, and then the standard shows up, and he's up in the front. There's nothing that I have going on right now that's like in your face, That's the one thing I remember a fantastic artist, Greg Capullo, that I talked about, and I've talked to death about. One of the best artists ever, one of the greatest comic book storytellers, in my opinion. I remember him saying he doesn't like having any page without like either an extreme close-up or a close-up. And it just breaks the pace up, and especially in this where you're trying to build the action up. So all that's to say, I want to put like a gigantic, probably just like a finger here or something like that. Maybe with a thumb, or I don't know. Probably just a giant finger. Right in the foreground. We don't need to see him because the colorist, we still have a colorist on the book, right? So maybe the reader will be able to see that TV man has whatever color his gloves are, that the finger's the same color, so it'll play. But what I was going to say for the perspective trick here is this guy's in the front, so I'm just gonna kind of draw him as I normally would here. I want him to look a little bit surprised as being called out, so I'm going to bring his shoulders up a little bit, kind of put him up in the air, oh god, kind of like somebody just told him to, like a cop just showed up with a gun, or somebody's trying to rob and said freeze, Just gonna bring his head down. So what I'm trying to do here is, now that I have him drawn, his proportions are somewhat right. Where that vanishing point is right there, that's my perspective. So as long as basically the bottom of the rib cage, anybody I draw in this scene, as long as their bottom of the rib cage falls in that perspective line, they will look like they work. So I'm going to put somebody kind of a little bit bigger. So again, following that perspective, that horizontal line that we have, or horizon line, as long as that guy's rib cage is there, we're fine. And it's going to have this guy kind of look like he was stepping to the side, even though that finger's going to bypass it altogether. It's okay. I want him to kind of look like he kind of dodged it, And to help guide the eye, this guy's going to be looking at the guy that's getting called out there. What if the other guy is taller or smaller? Bamf's asking, which is a great question. What you can do is just quickly draw, like, let's say I'll put somebody beside him here, but we'll make it a lady. So if I follow my perspective on the plane that this guy's standing on, these little lines I've drawn right there, if I put somebody in here, they're going to be the same height. So all I need to do is just make it a little taller, a little bit bigger, or a little bit smaller from there. And if the person was in the extreme foreground, you could just follow your perspective up from that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do here is, again, bottom of the rib cage kind of a little bit lower than where he had his. Give her a little bit more of some hip action going on. Give her a little head here, just to make her look a little bit smaller. And you know, I could probably actually bring her down a little bit more. So when I do bring this in a photo or a manga studio, probably just bring her down a little bit. Maybe she's gasping, like the ladies tend to do. I'm just going to put some keystone points here for people. I don't want to spend too much time here. And I am going to cheese it. I'm going to have those silhouetted bodies all in the back here just to make it look bigger than it is. Actually, there's quite a bit of dialogue in this panel too, and there's not much room. So I don't want to cloud it up too much. Like, there could be a bubble here. What do we got? A caption. So the caption's probably going to be right there. TV man and then young man, and the crowd's laughing. So TV man's got to say something. So TV man might say something like here. And then this guy would say that. And then you could probably have all this ha 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 in the background. So it's a real crowded scene. So let's get this finger going in here, because a lot of things are based on this. I'll have to play around with that one a little bit in Manga Studio. Okay, so let's start tightening her up here. So even though this guy's wearing a glove, I'm just going to draw the fingers if he wasn't wearing a glove. Just so I got a little bit more information for me when I go to draw this. Okay, and we're going to put, what is it, standard number 1. You'll be able to read that anyway. Put the guy's face here. And we'll give him some pants. Yeah, I'm going to look how long those legs are. Okay, so just to let everybody know again, once again, about 40 minutes in, so there's about 20 minutes left of the show. If you guys have any comments or questions or anything you guys would like addressed on the show, by all means, you can just put it in the chat room. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can send me a private message, or anywhere else you follow me, just send me a message, and if you do have a question, maybe I can tackle it on the next episode. And yeah, if you want something specifically tackled, I had a couple people ask me this as well. Just to private message me again, and maybe I can do it on like an actual YouTube episode, as opposed to the live streams, in case it's a little bit more in depth or something like that. So let's get this guy going here. And I realize not everybody in real life is ripped or have, you know, decent pecs, but I find it's nice to have somewhat, you know, simulated form to work off of here. Not everybody's perfect, I know that, but this is comics as well. I've had this argument with people. I'm not sure you guys in the chat feel about it, but people are always saying like they don't like superhero comics because everybody's perfect, everybody's ripped and stuff. But I don't know, like it's true, but at the same time, I mean, like it's comics, right? Like I don't know. It's real to just I don't say just do what you want, but you know you got to have some suspended disbelief here when you're working with people that have like superpowers, for Christ's sake. Okay. L Bridge Inc. is asking, I'm finding it hard inking using an Intuos. Do you think changing to a Cintiq would cut down the learning curve? And since you have the 12WX version, is that big enough? I have asked this question before, or answered this question, sorry. I believe that, like, yeah, obviously a Cintiq is way better than any kind of other tablet. And by that, I mean any kind of tablet that you draw directly on the screen is way better than working on just a tablet where you're drawing on something that's disconnected from the actual screen or what you're working on. All that's to say, if, well, no, not if, money always comes into play. If you can't afford one, don't worry about it. All it's going to take is just a little bit more extra discipline and practice on your part to get a little bit better using whatever tools you have. So I wouldn't say go. Well, I definitely would never say ever go in debt for something like this. Never take out money that you don't have to buy a really cool toy. Don't worry about that. If you're making money, people are, commissioning you to do stuff, and you don't necessarily need that money to like pay bills and to save money too much. Maybe put a little bit aside and then try to save up for one. I definitely think if you're going digital, or even if you just want to use it for digital roughs, it's phenomenal just in the speed that you'll get from it every time. And I do know some people that actually prefer just using a regular tablet over like a Cintiq or a Unova or any of those things. It's all style. It's all taste and preference. Whatever you get comfortable with. I know a lot of people, they get real comfortable with just a like a bamboo, and they're professional. They're working for DC. Hell, the guy from the DC Comics Digital Guide to Drawing Comics, that guy, at the time anyway, and still from what I know, he just uses a bamboo, the cheapest one you can basically get from Wacom, and the guy is doing published work. You know what I mean? He's not. I love his work as well, Freddie Williams, but at the same time, you can save that $1,500 to $3,500 and just spend it on whatever else you want to spend it on. The tool's not definitely the tool's not going to make the artist. That's for sure. If you still are lacking in the fundamentals or certain things just aren't making sense, then there's not much you can do outside of hard work and practice. So I don't know. Maybe if you're lucky enough to have a friend around that can let you, or you could use theirs or something, you could try it. And let me just scroll up here. Just missed a couple of the things here. Okay, so Drew Elby, if I'm saying that right. I just turned. Okay, I know it's cheating. Okay. Let's read that. Michael's asking, or Banff is asking, would you be able to walk us through an atmospheric illusion like foreground, midground, and extreme background? Night, John. Oh, you want me to? Oh, wow. Ooh, haze and stuff? I don't know. Like, you know, I basically did right here. You got an extreme foreground, your middle ground, and these guys would be in your background. And like extreme foreground or background, if there was like a city, you could kind of just pick the lines you wanted to have back there, and literally zero detail. That's probably the best that I would do. Yeah, or even a silhouette. When things get that far back, I would like not even think about um, any kind of detail lines or anything like that. Let's put like a person sitting here, standing there. And I know all this stuff just based on the script. The bubbles have to go somewhere, so if I don't put anything there, I know that's where the bubbles will go. So what I've been doing lately or trying to get into is thinking heavily where these elements are going to go so that I can cut down time of things that'll be in the background. So normally what I would have done is gone right in here and just rendered out maybe like 4 or 5 other people or something like that, but the bubbles can't go, like the speech bubbles can't go anywhere but there if I leave only this information here. So what I'll do is I'll just copy those silhouetted people as well. So I know it's a little bit of a hacky cheat and stuff like that, but in the grand scheme of things, nobody's really going to know. And it gets pages done faster, right? And that's what we're all trying to do. What's up, Bam? Or you could always just do a magnolia, haze out the feet in the foreground or something, right? Yeah, he does that. More of a, not just a style thing, but if you got like a little bit of like a river kind of going around, like let's say this was your panel and you had your foreground character here. And you kind of cut his legs out in the water, but we're going to put him in black. Like that. And you start doing this with the water. Maybe put like a bubble or something behind him. In the background, you could just start doing that line stuff that we were talking about. You might have something up in the foreground here. I don't know. Maybe it's a tree. Maybe another tree over here or something. And then you could just basically get your colorist or whatever color. Or if you're just leaving it black and white, maybe I would probably just do a little bit of rendering or something here in like the foreground element stuff. Just to break it up a little bit. Yeah. And Drew LB is asking or saying, are you doing the hybrid method to sell your original art after? Because digital cuts out a lot of corners and is quicker. Sorry, this already asked. And what Drew's talking about is, again, what's addressed in that DC How to Draw Comics book, where what you do is what I'm doing right now, except you would print it out in blue, or you could do it on like dirty paper like this and just light box it. That way you can still have real inks over top of it so you can resell your art. But no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm literally just thumbnails that I did that were this small, literally like the size of my finger small, blew them up in Photoshop, lowered the opacity to about 15%, printed it out in black paper on regular 8.5 by 11 paper. Now I'm getting my pencil work, just kind of go, like this is pretty tight pencils here. Then I'm going to rescan this, load it into Manga Studio, 600 DPI, 11 by 17, and just ink over top of it, because all the information I need is done here. And some people have asked, why the hell would you waste the time and do all that? Basically because my day job, I'm an artist for a video game company now. I'm staring at computers all day long. When I come home to do comics, it should be fun. I still get paid. This is client work. This is important work. I'm burnt out, and the idea of actually staring at a computer is just like, it pisses me off. I'll be honest with you guys. So what I'm noticing is like I can hammer out like 2 or 3 of these a day, And then on my weekends, or sometimes, you just feel good at the end of the day, I can just go into Manga Studio and ink. I don't have to do this step digitally. So if I can take a step out from the digital process, it keeps it more fresh for me. So you got to try it out yourself if you're feeling the same way. Might help you out as well. Paradox is saying, I'm a level designer and a comics drawer, and I'm using a Wacom Bamboo Fun Pen and Touch, and it works good. So there you go. And Pinkerton's asking, any updates on your paid tutorials yet? Unfortunately not. I do have it queued up in the workflow to get it done. It's just, I don't know. I just wish there was more hours in the day. You know what it's literally going to come down to, you guys? Is maybe this weekend, maybe on Sunday or something. Now that you're bringing it up, I'm going to make a little note of it. Actually, just let me do that right now. Just so I don't forget. Sit down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is sit down and make some goals. And what I mean by that, I think a lot of people, if you don't do it, you might want to look into it because it does help out. And by goals, I mean things that you obviously want. And I'm not talking, I want a sports car. I don't care about sports car. What I need to do, or what I need to do, is get a better handle on not just client work. It's sorry, that's right in your face. Not just client work, but projects that I want to do, like Squirrel God, Jessup King, the paid tutorials for you guys, more regular content for YouTube and stuff. And I'm just getting overloaded by taking on too much work or outside sources and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is just start pinpointing actual goals that I want to get done. So the paid tutorials, at least one or two to have something up for you guys and you girls, is definitely a priority. I do have some other things that I have to get done first, but I'm going to try just changing it up a bit where it's like I only have a certain amount of things on my plate and just boom, just destroy that one, then move to the next one, boom, destroy that one, as opposed to just kind of like doing a few things at the same time. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. If you guys are trying to come up with your own stories and stuff like that, and maybe you've got your actual day job or something kind of going in there, it's all that kind of stuff like that. Let me just scroll down here. Yeah, looks like you guys. It's really cool hearing you guys saying stuff that I already talked about. That's really cool. And Pop Cultivation has a question. Any updates on the Wacom you bought? Which was it? The 12WX? Yes, it was. Have you seen the 13 HD? If you could afford it, would you upgrade it, or do you think we should just buy the 13? Okay, I want to draw here. We got about 7 minutes left, so this page is basically done. I'm going to answer that question in a second. I'm just going to show you guys quickly and this is in quotes here, tight pencils here. Okay, so all that information is exactly what I need to ink. I don't need anything more than this. I could go in there and maybe do some shadowing and stuff like that, but what I need is there. And I'm not going to noodle on that anymore, or else I'm going to be wasting time. So this page here, we're going to work on this while I talk. I apologize, it's so zoomed in. Probably move around a bit. But we got the standard punch in the bag guy. Okay, so my question is, the 12WX that I bought, the Wacom, love it. I can't even imagine not having it anymore, to be honest. Everything about it is just, it's great. And I've had zero issues with it. And I mean literally nothing. Not a single. There might have been something where, I don't know, maybe it wasn't detecting pen pressure like once in a blue moon, but I would get that with my Intuos. I would get that with like any tablet hooked up. So I don't know if that's a computer issue or what. But no, I have zero regrets for buying that. And in case you don't know, or some of the other people in the room that are kind of maybe thinking about getting one themselves, I had actually, the way my life was going at the time is I didn't need that money really. I think it was like $1,500 that it was. And I mean, that's a great problem to have, right? Let's be honest. But I was just getting to the point where I was like, do I do it? What's the point? Like, why would I do it? Would I just do it to color? It doesn't really seem like a reason to spend that kind of money to color better. And then I just started looking around, and I picked up the DC Comics guide, and that's when I really started going, you know what? I think digital is the route to go for me. And that's when I started really practicing pretty heavily and drawing all on the computer. And it was a huge learning curve, you know. I mean, you got to learn a whole new workflow and everything. But something about it really rang true to me, and I loved the way it looked. Everything was great. It was great. So I came across that money, and I figured, you know what? What the hell? I'm fortunate enough to have clients pay me for work, right? That is an awesome thing to have. So the big determining factor that I had was, if I spend this money, can I make it back if I have a faster tool? Can I make that money back based on getting new work from this new tool? So if it's giving me speed, that might mean I can do more client work faster, which means more money. Or I can do more commissions faster, because that means more money. And in the end, that was essentially the big thing. It gave me speed to the point where I could get more work done. So that's why I bought it. And I know that's not the question you asked, but I'm just kind of trying to go in there and just give a little context. But all said and done, I have zero regrets again for making that purchase. If I could, I would totally upgrade. Just based on the experience that I have with the small one, it's such a positive experience that I would only imagine that a bigger model would give me more room to draw, which means fantastic. Whoops, sorry. But right now, anyway, I mean, I don't have the money to put towards that. I've kind of made my price. I've already set my little toy aside for now. Maybe in the future, like if I run into some serious cash, I might make the upgrade, but nothing right now is making me want to go out and buy a bigger one. So to answer your question, I guess no. If you wanted to buy one, would I recommend getting the small one or the big one? That you're going to have to do some solid research on that. All I can say is the small one's fantastic. I wouldn't think, oh, it's the small one, it's shit. I would definitely not think that. You'll hear people talk about negatives, like there's some jitter at the bottom. I never experience that, and when I do, I mean, it's such a rare occurrence, it's not a big thing, because I like to draw around the center of my image. I don't like to do straight lines and go all the way down. Sometimes you have to, but you can just zoom out and do that line, right? So there's ways around it. I've never really felt like it was a hindrance. If I was to do it over again, I don't know. I don't know what the prices are now because I haven't looked. But if it was around the same, I'd probably spend about the same. I don't think I would have saved up a little bit more to get the big one. And one of the other big determining things that I should say, for you guys out there too, is a friend of mine actually had the small one, and I remember using it, but I forgot exactly what it was like. And I don't think he really enjoyed his experience with it, but he was more into digital painting. And from what I hear, and it's true, you know, that the color is not 100% right on. So he kind of got rid of it, and it kind of made me concerned. But then I was thinking about it, like, I do comic book work, you know, I rarely color. I do black and white art in gray, so it doesn't even matter about the color. So that was a positive. And then on the other side too is, I'm assuming if you're considering getting a Cintiq, you probably already have a monitor. So if you have a video card that can support 2 monitors, which you kind of want if you're going to get a Cintiq, you can just, especially in Photoshop, I don't know if you guys know, you can just make a new window that copies the window that you're drawing on your Cintiq. So you can just look over and you can see what the colors should look like. So it's really not a big deal at all. But it would be nice to have everything just there right where you're looking. I won't argue that. Alright, so I'm just going to say thank you so much for watching. I'm going to stay in the chat room for about another 10 minutes just to answer and catch up with you guys for staying after the show as well. And if you're watching this off of a recorded version, thank you so much, especially off YouTube. Appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment in the underbar if you want like a topic brought up, or if you had like something to say about this episode that you wanted me to maybe bring up, or you just wanted to say hi. That's cool too. So until next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, take care, you guys. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and we'll talk to you soon.